Kings and Queens, the shocking truth behind the Tudor dynasty's reign. The Tudor dynasty. The very name conjures images of opulent courts, chivalrous knights, and the blossoming of the English Renaissance. But behind the shimmering facade lies a truth far more shocking, far more dramatic. Beneath the polished veneer of royal portraits and courtly dances were secrets that could bring down kingdoms, tales of betrayal, murder, forbidden love, and ruthless ambition. The Tudors were not merely rulers, they were survivors in a world where loyalties shifted like the wind, and danger often came from within one's own bloodline. Every crown worn came at a price, every coronation shadowed by whispers of treachery. This was a dynasty forged in blood, defined by power plays and broken promises, where even the most beloved figures were just one misstep away from ruin or the executioner's blade. Love, war, treason. These were the daily bread of the Tudor monarchs. Their survival and the survival of their dynasty depended on a ruthlessness and cunning that often defied the very notion of royalty. The Tudor dynasty's ascent to the throne was forged in blood and battle. Henry Tudor, later Henry VII, seized the crown from Richard III on the field of Bosworth in 1485. This victory marked the end of the long and brutal Wars of the Roses. Henry VII was a shrewd and calculating king. He understood that military victory alone was not enough to secure his reign. He consolidated his power through strategic marriages, most notably his own union with Elizabeth of York. He possessed an almost unnerving understanding of finance. He rebuilt the royal treasury, laying the groundwork for the dynasty's future success. But his methods were often as ruthless as they were effective. No Tudor monarch is more infamous than Henry VIII. A towering figure, both physically and politically, he dominated the English landscape for nearly 4 decades. His reign was a period of unprecedented change and upheaval. Henry dismantled the centuries-old authority of the Catholic Church in England, severing ties with Rome in pursuit of an annulment the Pope refused to grant. This act alone would alter the religious, political, and cultural fabric of the nation forever, giving birth to the Church of England and setting into motion a series of religious reforms and persecutions that would ripple through generations. Driven by a desperate desire for a male heir, Henry orchestrated the English Reformation. He broke away from the Catholic Church, defying the Pope and centuries of tradition. This act reshaped England's religious landscape forever. The dissolution of the monasteries, a consequence of the Reformation, enriched the crown immensely, but it also caused widespread social upheaval and resentment. The poor and vulnerable were often left destitute. Henry's personal life was as turbulent as his political one. He married 6 times. 2 of his wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, met their end on the executioner's block. His reputation for brutality and instability is well earned. He was a king who brooked no opposition, and his reign was marked by fear and paranoia. He was a man of immense power, and he wielded it without mercy. Henry VIII's death ushered in an era of religious and political instability. His son, Edward VI, was a sickly boy who ruled for only a few short years. During his reign, Protestantism gained further ground. Upon Edward's death, his half-sister Mary ascended the throne. A devout Catholic, Mary was determined to restore England to the Catholic fold. Her reign was marked by the persecution of Protestants, earning her the infamous moniker Bloody Mary. Hundreds were burned at the stake for their religious beliefs. Mary's attempts to restore Catholicism met with fierce resistance. Her marriage to Philip II of Spain further complicated England's international relations. The English people viewed the Spanish alliance with suspicion and distrust. Mary's reign was a period of darkness and division. It left England deeply scarred and uncertain of its future. Elizabeth I inherited a kingdom fractured by religious strife and political intrigue. She was a young woman in a world dominated by men, yet she possessed a sharp intellect and an unwavering determination. She skillfully navigated the treacherous waters of religious tension. She balanced Protestant and Catholic factions, maintaining a fragile peace. Elizabeth's reign is often remembered as a golden age for England. It was a time of exploration, artistic flourishing, and growing national pride. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 cemented England's position as a major European power. But even during this golden age, shadows lurked. The execution of Mary, Queen of Scots, was a controversial act that haunted Elizabeth for the rest of her life. She faced constant threats of plots and conspiracies against her. Her life was one of constant vigilance. She never married, choosing instead to dedicate herself to her country. She was the Virgin Queen, a symbol of England's strength and independence. The Tudor dynasty transformed England's religious, political, and cultural identity. It was a period of immense change, driven by ambition, love, and the relentless pursuit of power. The decisions made by the Tudor monarchs continue to resonate today. They were not saints or heroes. They were flawed individuals who lived in a brutal and unforgiving world. They faced constant threats of betrayal and assassination. Their legacy is complex and multifaceted. They left behind a nation that was stronger, more prosperous, and more independent than ever before. But they also left behind a legacy of violence, religious persecution, and political intrigue. The Tudor dynasty shaped English history through ambition, power, and extremes of good and evil, leaving a legacy that still fascinates centuries later. It was marked by sweeping religious reform, political revolution, artistic flourishing, and personal tragedy. It is no wonder that centuries later, the world remains captivated by their legacy, fascinated, intrigued, and often haunted by the dynasty that changed England forever. If you had fun watching, like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more. Thanks for tuning in.